Good evening. I'm Darcy,
And I'm Hannah. Welcome to Real Bites.
the podcast where we, as film students, put our limited coherent thoughts into words to discuss classic films.
In this episode, we'll be discussing the 1925 film The Lost World, based on the novel by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle.
Stay tuned for our thoughts on loyal boyfriends, monkey suits, and delinquent brontosauruses.
Let's go.
So, the film is based on the book by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, and it's about dinosaurs. The plot centers around this guy, Challenger, who claims to have found dinosaurs, and he brings together a team of people to go and show them the dinosaurs in this plateau in, I think it's in South America. And then Malone, who is this reporter, gets in on the expedition because his girlfriend kind of pressured him into it. She's like, "You're not a man. You're not brave enough. You never do anything dangerous." And he's like, "Well, I'm going to the dinosaurs."
How to
And
test
so
your
they go to the plateau. What were you saying?
said how to test your boyfriend 101.
I know.
How manly are you?
How
Can you fix
manly.
a dinosaur?
I think it's like a mark of a sensible man not to do anything dangerous, but I guess it's just she wasn't having it. And the funniest part is, yeah, so they go to the plateau and then they get trapped there for a while. They get back, and the funniest part is this guy who claims he found dinosaurs, and he has the diary of this other guy who was drawing them, and that's what he uses as evidence. He just uses pictures as evidence.
Not even pictures, they're just drawings, like sketches.
Yeah, he just went and he doodled something. He's like, "This is my evidence. Accept it." And they got funding for this expedition. They're like, "You know what? We could get funding if we say it's a rescue expedition." And I wonder in the olden days if you could just claim you were going somewhere obscure and then take the funding and just go somewhere else, start your life in another country anew.
What if you claim you saw something in space and then you get funding for that? You just get like a free trip to the moon.
I don't know. They didn't have the technology, but that's the general idea of how it worked. It was wild. It's like, yeah, I saw dinosaurs. Give me funding, and then they give you funding, and
Off you go.
if you disappear, they'll just assume the dinosaurs ate you. Something I found interesting, plot-wise and like character-wise, was that the moment of shock at first meeting the dinosaurs was not emphasized. Like in Jurassic Park, you have Ellie and Alan and Malcolm, and they're all in awe of this dinosaur. They're in the car. We see their reactions really up close. Here we don't see Malone's reaction, and I like to assume he's neutral. Like, yep, another day reporting on the field. Same old. Um, they have quite a bit of stock footage of animals, which, I mean, it looks like stock footage. It probably is. I find it funny that they had stock footage in the 1920s.
But I mean, like when I was watching it, I was thinking like this was made in 1925. That's like almost 100 years ago.
That
So
is, yeah.
the fact that they were able to pull off these effects kind of blows my mind. Like they couldn't even put in sound, but they managed with the special effects, which is really cool.
It's insane. They used models, right? And I mean, looking now, because we have Jurassic Park, which was heavily researched in terms of how the animals would have moved, and this one kind of looks clumsy in comparison. But for 100 years ago, this is really, really good.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
They didn't have a lot to go on then, too. Like the research wasn't as progressed. And I wonder if they thought humans existed at the same time as dinosaurs, because they also have this prehistoric man character, like this ape man.
Oh right.
He wears this suit, and it just made me think how hot it would be in that suit.
Poor dude had to like sit in the suit and like paint his face,
I know.
and walk
Uh,
like a gorilla.
yeah. They like the research in terms of that area was not very.
For a
So
hundred years ago, still, we'll let it slide.
yeah, we will. Um. Oh, another plot element is there was this volcano at one point. They were like, first they thought, we'll never get off this island, and then there's a volcano.
Yeah, so going like the plot basically, it's like they go in the forest, right? They find the dinosaur. Things are going all right, and then they face like a little problem, and then the story continues, and they just walk around, and then they face another problem, and then they walk around, and they face another problem, and then at the end they go home. So I guess there's like mini conflicts instead of like one big overall conflict. Or I guess the big overall conflict is that they can't escape, but it's funny how they include like cute little things like, oh, we have like a volcano, or like the dinosaur knocked off our bridge that we built. So yeah.
That's my favorite character, the Brontosaurus. And my favorite moment is when he casually walks by and just throws their bridge off the cliff and then goes back the way he came. Like, I'm just here to wreak havoc, and we're going. He ends
Yeah.
up in London too. Sees the world.
Yeah. So I think the plot overall could have been a little bit more gripping,
Mm-hmm.
but again, for 100 years ago to make a dinosaur film, I think they did pretty good.
They did the best they could, yeah. I don't know, like I've never read the book, so I can't compare the two.
Yeah.
I know Conan Doyle was generally a pretty good writer, but adaptations, man.
Hmm.
So the special effects. The models were made by, I think, Marcel Delgado, and he based these designs on Charles Knight's iconic dinosaur paintings, which he did for the Museum of Natural History. And then the special effects were the work of Willis O'Brien, who then worked on King Kong, the original 1933 film. And these effects, this kind of stop motion, took a period of many years to create because, you have many frames per second, and each frame you have to take a separate picture, pose the models, do the lighting, and so after they had finished with the models, they brought in the human stars.
Wow.
Yeah, it's so grueling to think about like doing that.
That's crazy.
And this film had the major support of Hollywood studio, which, Conan Doyle is British, but I guess he got his leg in the game in America as well. The cinematography is really pretty. There was a lot of times when I would look at it and think, wow, that's clever.
I like the nature shots
Hmm.
of the trees and the jungle, and like those were really well made.
They gave a good sense of space and time and built the world well. It was believable. What were you saying about the clothing?
I said I like the way they dressed the actors as
Yeah.
well.
I didn't really notice it, but I guess that means it was good because it didn't stand out as being completely wrong.
No, they blended in with the whole theme, the jungle theme.
Yeah. The acting, as in silent films, it's the mimicry is a little strange. Like at one point, the girl is doing something, and this guy just stands behind her with his hand on her shoulder the whole time, trying to feel like he's useful. Some elements are a bit awkward, but it was 100 years ago.
Yeah. Okay. Another thing is the music that they put. I thought it was good. I think it went pretty well. So more variety in the music. Usually you'd have violin, suspense, 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 and then like it goes down again. And then violin, suspense, suspense. Like if they had some pauses of just like complete silence at some intense moments and then bring up the music a little bit, I think that could have been more effective because after a while, I kind of tuned it out.
Oh, that's interesting. On how the absence of sound could have strengthened the film.
Even if it's just for a brief few seconds, I think that would have been effective.
Yeah, I wonder if the music on the kind of video file we looked at the film through, which is online for free, I wonder if that's the original music that was written for the film.
Oh, yeah, we can look at that.
Like, I'm wondering if it's the original music. I don't know if there's a way we could check. Probably not, because we have to go back in
But if
time.
it's a major Hollywood production, I think they might have had enough money to like soundtrack for it.
Make some music, not just some vaudeville.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it did go pretty well with the film. But some variety, I think, could have been a little bit
I
more.
see what you mean because, like you're saying, it was more annoying because the plot wasn't so good. Like if the plot was better, our problems with the music wouldn't be as noticeable.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
because the plot isn't that good, you're suddenly focusing and criticizing the music too. So
Yeah. Yeah. I like the way you put that.
the title cards, I found them funny compared to other silent films because they used so many italics. It was it's insane.
And exclamation marks.
And exclamation marks. They just threw those out like penny candy. I don't know what the phrase is, but they sprinkled them in and generously at that.
Just to make up for the music.
To make up for the music and the lack of plot, they're like, you know what? We still have a chance of making interesting the title cards.
But
So
one
that's
thing,
what we're gonna do.
I'm glad they left the title cards up for a while because I don't know how long they'd be up for, so I'd have to speed read through them. But then they were on the screen long enough for me to put it in my head and like imagine them, the characters saying them.
Yeah, I don't really imagine. I like usually read title cards in my own voice. Like I read books in my own voice, but it's fun to imagine different characters talking.
Or like, I mean, sort of process this line as something that character would say. Because, you know, when you're watching like a normal film with sound, like a modern film, you get the subtitles and they appear as the words are being spoken, so you don't have to worry about not catching what they say
Yeah.
if you can't read it quickly enough. That means like everyone in the olden days had to be literate to completely understand the film, I guess.
Sometimes the characters will say something on screen and there won't be a title card for it.
So it's a guess.
Yeah, so you just have to guess. I think that's interesting though, because in real life, if you're looking at someone far away, you don't understand what they're saying. And sometimes in books, like the very specific dialogue kind of gets to me. It's like just summarize it. Show me the just like PG Woodhouse does this when he writes. It's like I asked her if she had done this and she replied she had. So you're not getting direct dialogue, you're just getting the general feeling. And it's rare in books and films today. But in silent films, they just cut out the title cards and they got that effect.
Otherwise, I think films would be really long if you had to put up like every line of dialogue, yeah.
Well, it worked without them. I'm
Yeah.
glad it wasn't any longer. It was long enough.
Yeah.
Some trivia.
Yeah.
Exciting facts about the film. So, in 1922, the test reel was shown to the Society of American Magicians by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, and the society included Harry Houdini. Harry Houdini, I think he was really into the film industry because he was friends with Buster Keaton. He was meeting up with Conan Doyle. That man was into film, which is surprising.
So cinema literally was magic.
Yeah, cinema and magic are closely tied together.
Yes.
Harry Houdini knew it. This film, an actual fun fact, is this film was the first in-flight movie, and
No
it was
way.
yeah, like in-flight movies they had in 1925. Apparently,
That's 100 years ago.
yeah,
Like, that's crazy.
yeah, apparently they had in-flight movies back then, which is insane. And they chose this one. They're like, you know what people want to see when they're on an airplane? Dinosaurs. And they showed it. It was on an Imperial Airways flight. And
Wow.
the flight was from London to Paris. Wait, that doesn't make sense. The flight's not that long. London and Paris are like a centimeter apart.
But maybe planes were really slow at the time.
I hadn't
It
thought
was
of that.
100 years ago. A whole
Yeah,
century ago. The fact that they could get from London to France in the air is remarkable in itself.
that is funny. I have to check like the flight distance now because I'm curious.
Here, I
How
can
long?
flight distance from London to France.
No, like the flight time.
Flight time from London.
Paris.
Flight time.
Not that far away. 2 hours and 16 minutes. Oh.
For me, it tells me it's only an hour 20 minutes.
Oh. Well, I guess this film isn't that long. Maybe they didn't show the whole thing. Interesting.
Wow, yeah, I like that fact.
I learned some geography now.
It's awesome.
I thought they were way closer. Oh, and yeah, obviously the Lost World, which was the book, and then it was this film, the 1925 film, and it was I think a play and more films. Not sure about that. Maybe I might be confusing it, but it's also the namesake of the second Jurassic Park film of the more modern series. And I
Mm,
think that's a cute homage that they chose this name.
it is.
This was the first dinosaur oriented big film, and it led to, expired this giant monster genre, and it paved the way for that, like King Kong, and then obviously the later Jurassic Park films. There's a trope in a of like the creature on rampage in a city, and the effect of the film is quite focused on balancing spectacle and story, which this film, I don't think it has a lot of story, but that's my personal opinion. Speaking of opinions, what's your opinion, Hannah?
On the movie overall.
Well, yeah.
All right, it was not really my cup of tea, to be honest. I felt it was a bit slow. Um, Not very gripping, but I did admire. It's cool to see how things were done 100 years ago. This was a film, like a Hollywood film, so I thought, respect to that. But when I watch it, if I'm bored and have nothing else to do, probably not. But yeah, I'm still glad I saw it. What about you?
Well, the characters, I don't think the characters really appeal to me that much, and I think that's part of what weakened the plot. And especially like the guy Monroe, he forgets about his girlfriend halfway through, and I was just thinking, what a loyal guy. So admirable of him. Look at him go, just like
Maybe
getting a new girlfriend in the jungle. Yeah,
maybe his girlfriend sent him there on purpose. She just wanted to get rid of him.
that's a thought. That's a good thought. I mean, I would want to get rid of him. Look at him. Like, let's get married. No one mentions the other girlfriend. Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, the characters are weird. I think like them getting into a fight in the beginning in the apartment. That
Oh
was
my god,
also weird.
what was that?
Yeah, Monroe's just an asshole. He's like, he started it after he broke into the other guy's house, and whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, plot and character development could have used a little more.
Yeah. There's a bit like my favorite character was, as I mentioned before, the Brontosaurus. I love the theme of dinosaurs ripping up trees and tossing them around, especially this specific dinosaur. That's the only thing he does throughout the film, and then he, goes to London.
Yep.
But I feel like I would watch a film about this specific dinosaur.
When he goes to London, they missed an amazing opportunity to put London Bridge is falling down.
They
Please,
missed
that would have
it.
been hilarious.
Was that like phrase around at the time?
Pulling it right now. 2005?
No, is that a film? I think the song is. Oh, it was published in 1744. So yeah, it was around.
Well, it was around at the time.
They missed the opportunity for a pun.
Sorry, that would have been perfect. Perfect for the film.
But the dinosaur uprooting trees for fun, that is a movie I would watch. And the models are cool. I admire them a lot. Like the dinosaurs, the faces are so detailed, and they have these close-ups and the mixed shots of humans and dinosaurs. I mean, they tried. Doesn't look too good, but they tried.
They tried. How
And
long
I
did
respect
this take
that.
to make?
Pardon?
How long did this take to make?
Oh, years. Like first the models, and then they filmed the human stuff after they were done. The
I mean,
models.
like, how long did it take to produce? Actually, I'm gonna Google this.
A couple of years from what I understand.
It doesn't say.
Yeah, there's not a lot of information about these old films. Probably a lot.
Apparently, for the live action scenes, an open sewer behind the studio they were making this in Los Angeles was used as a river.
Oh. Oh wow. Okay. Nice.
Crafty.
What a glamorous job these film stars had.
It's like, where are you shooting this Hollywood production film? Behind the sewer.
In the sewer. Join us,
Yeah.
So yes, this was The Lost World.
All right.
I would recommend watching some of it just to get the gist of it and see, just have that in the back of your head of what old dinosaur films look like.
And if you're interested in dinosaurs and classical music in the 1900s, this is the film for you. Well, this wraps up today's episode. You've been listening to the Real Bites podcast, the podcast where we discuss classic films in bite-sized episodes. Today's episode was about dinosaurs, so the bite was not bite-sized. It was a lot bigger, human-sized. That wasn't funny.
It was kind of bite brontosauruses apparently took from trees, according to filmmakers in the 1920s.
Oh, stop. I think we should end the episode.
Okay, this podcast is free to listen to, and as of now, it's available on YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, TikTok, and LinkedIn. We'll be expanding to other platforms soon, so stay tuned. Find all the links at realbites.card.co, which is spelled REELBITES.CARRD.co. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Bye.